Close your eyes with me. In today's video, we will do a different reflection. I hope you like it. He's hurting, but you wouldn't know it. His face looks calm. His words sound collected. His actions seem composed. But inside, there's a storm. A silence so loud it's deafening. A pain so deep it's easier to hide than to explain. He doesn't tell you because he's afraid of seeming weak. He doesn't reach out because he fears rejection. He doesn't share his heart because he doesn't know how. But his silence isn't indifference. It's a silent cry for understanding, a hope that someone, somewhere, will see beyond the mask and say, I know, I feel it too. You're not alone. Comment, I see the truth. If you've ever felt the weight of silent pain, your voice might bring light to someone's darkest hour. Why the masculine hides his pain. It's easy to believe that he's fine, that he's unaffected, that he doesn't feel the weight of everything left unsaid. But beneath the surface, beneath the mask of control and composure, the masculine is drowning, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't know how to show it. Not because he's indifferent, but because he's scared of what his vulnerability might reveal. Have you ever sensed that someone's silence wasn't calmness, but chaos contained? For the masculine, expressing pain often feels like failure. He's been taught to be strong, to hold it together, to carry the weight without complaint. Admitting hurt feels like admitting weakness. And in a world that equates masculinity with resilience, silence becomes a shield that protects not just his heart, but his identity. When he's hurting, he retreats, not because he wants to push you away, but because he doesn't know how to let you in. His inner world is a battlefield, a place where emotions rage, but words falter. He's afraid that if he lets the walls down, everything he's held back will flood out, leaving him exposed, raw, and defenseless. Have you noticed how his distance isn't rejection, but a form of self-preservation? He doesn't tell you about his pain because he fears judgment, because he worries that his struggle will make you see him differently, because deep down, he believes that vulnerability will make him unworthy of love. So he wears the mask of, I'm fine, even as his heart aches, even as his soul cries for relief, even as he yearns for someone to see through the facade and hold space for his truth. This silence isn't a sign of strength. It's a survival strategy, a learned response to a world that rewards stoicism and punishes openness, a way to keep the chaos within from spilling into the world around him. You've probably felt it. That moment when his words stop, his eyes dim, his presence becomes distant. It's not because he doesn't feel, it's because he feels too much. So much that he can't put it into words, can't make it make sense, can't risk the vulnerability it would take to speak it aloud. And yet, behind the silence, his soul whispers, "I'm hurting, I need you, but I don't know how to ask." Have you ever felt that someone's silence was a quiet cry for help? This is why the masculine hides his pain. Not because he wants to be distant, not because he doesn't trust you, but because his pain feels unspeakable, because he spent so long learning to suppress it that expressing it now feels like tearing down walls he no longer knows how to rebuild. And in this silence, he hopes that you'll feel his unspoken words, that you'll sense his need for connection, that you'll hold space for his truth, even if he can't say it out loud. On the outside, he looks calm, collected, strong. But if you listen closely, beyond the surface, beneath the practiced words and steady tone, there's a quiet struggle, a silence that isn't peaceful but heavy, a silence that holds more than words could ever express. Have you ever noticed how someone's stillness can feel louder than their words? For the masculine, silence isn't a lack of emotion. It's an overflow. It's a dam holding back everything he's afraid to feel, everything he's convinced himself he must manage alone. When he's silent, it's not because he's unaffected. It's because he's trying to contain the flood, trying to maintain control over emotions that threaten to break through the walls he's spent years constructing. And that silence, it's not absence, it's presence. A presence so dense, so charged with unspoken feelings that it fills the space between you. You can feel it in the way he looks away, in the tightness of his jaw, in the deep sighs he tries to stifle. It's the energy of a soul in conflict, of a heart trying to protect itself while longing to be seen. Have you ever felt that someone's silence was filled with more emotion than words could hold? The masculine's silence isn't a rejection of connection. It's a desperate attempt to hold himself together. He doesn't want to burden you. He doesn't want to risk being misunderstood. He fears that if he opens up, the magnitude of his pain will be too much for him and for you. So he stays quiet. He convinces himself that silence is safer, that enduring alone is nobler, that swallowing his feelings is a form of strength. But inside, the silence grows heavier. It wraps around his chest like a tightening band. It echoes in his mind as unspoken words, unrealized fears, unmet needs. And though he may appear composed, each day that passes adds another layer to the weight he carries. Have you ever seen the moment when someone's eyes betray the calm their mouth insists on? In this silence, he's not trying to push you away. He's trying to protect both of you from the depth of his struggle, because he doesn't know how to explain it. Because he fears that if he starts, he won't be able to stop. Because he believes, on some level, that his role is to endure, not to express. But what he doesn't realize is that his silence doesn't protect anyone. It only deepens his isolation, and it leaves you, the one who cares, feeling helpless, distant, disconnected, not because you don't love him, but because you can't reach what he won't let you see. Have you felt that helpless ache of wanting to hold someone's pain, but being met with a wall of silence? The truth is, behind the masculine silence is a desire to be understood, a longing to be seen beyond the mask, a hope that someone, somehow, will feel what he can't say, that you'll recognize the struggle in his stillness, the pain in his quiet, the love in his distance. This silence isn't rejection, it's a quiet cry for connection, a hope that you'll stay, not to fix, not to pry, but simply to hold space for his truth. A truth he may not be ready to voice, but one he desperately needs you to feel. He doesn't say it. He doesn't write it. He doesn't let it slip in conversation. But if you pay attention, the signs are there, hidden in plain sight, woven into his gestures, his habits, his silences. They're the quiet indicators of a man in pain who doesn't know how to ask for help. Have you ever noticed the subtle changes in someone who's trying to hold it all together? You might catch it in the way he avoids eye contact when emotions surface, in the tight smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes, in the way his shoulders seem to carry more than just the weight of the day, in his sudden need to stay busy, to keep moving, to avoid the stillness that might force him to feel, or in the way he pulls back, not out of disinterest, but because closeness feels too raw, too risky. He may start working longer hours, diving into distractions, filling his time with obligations that leave no space for introspection. Not because he's driven, but because slowing down feels dangerous. Because when he slows down, the thoughts catch up, the fears resurface, the pain he's buried bubbles up, and he doesn't know how to contain it without breaking down. Have you felt that presence, that quiet heaviness when someone is physically there, but energetically distant? He may seem irritable, impatient over small things, snapping at moments that never used to bother him. It's not because he's lost affection. It's because he's overwhelmed. His mind is a battlefield, constantly suppressing the waves of emotion he's too afraid to release. The pressure builds, and it leaks out in frustration, in withdrawal, in moments of unexplained coldness. Sometimes the signs are even quieter. A sigh a little too deep, a laugh that doesn't quite land, a text left unanswered longer than usual, a moment of hesitation before answering a simple question, a shift in tone that hints at something deeper. Have you ever felt that the silence after a question was louder than any words could be? These are the hidden signs of his suffering. Not because he's trying to deceive you, but because he doesn't know how to share the burden. Because vulnerability feels like standing naked in the storm, exposed and unprotected. Because he fears that showing his pain will make him less in your eyes, less capable, less strong. And so he wears the mask a little tighter. He laughs a little louder. He distracts himself a little more, hoping you won't notice, hoping he can carry it alone. But in doing so, he isolates himself from the very connection that could bring him relief. Have you ever wanted to reach out and say, "I see you. I feel your pain. You don't have to carry it alone"? The hidden signs are invitations. Not to push him, not to demand explanations, but to simply hold space. To offer quiet understanding, to create an environment where his truth can unfold at its own pace. Because deep down, he doesn't want to be invisible. He just doesn't know how to be seen without fear. What his silence is really saying. His silence isn't empty. It's not a lack of care, not a wall built to keep you out. It's a language all its own, speaking truths he doesn't know how to verbalize. Every pause, every averted glance, every moment of withdrawal holds a message. I'm struggling. I'm afraid. I don't know how to let you in. Have you ever felt that someone's quiet wasn't absence, but a silent cry for understanding? For the masculine, words can feel heavy, inadequate, even dangerous. Expressing emotions he's spent a lifetime suppressing feels like opening a floodgate with no way to stop the tide. So he stays silent, hoping the storm inside will pass, hoping the weight will lift on its own. But it doesn't. It grows heavier, denser, more suffocating, and the longer he holds it in, the more it shapes his reality. His silence says, "I'm afraid of being seen as weak." It whispers, "I'm afraid you'll think less of me if you see my cracks." It pleads, "Please don't ask me to explain because I don't know how." And it confesses, "I want to connect, but I don't know how to bridge this gap between my fear and my truth." Have you ever felt that someone's distance wasn't about you, but about their own inability to face their inner world. His silence is not an absence of emotion, it's an abundance of it. So much feeling trapped inside that the only way to contain it is to retreat, to shut down, to withdraw. He believes that by saying nothing, he can keep the pain at bay, that by holding it in, he can maintain control. But control is an illusion, and the silence only deepens the ache. The truth is, he wants to be understood. He longs for someone to see beyond the mask, to recognize the tremble in his voice, the hesitation in his step, the heaviness in his energy. He hopes desperately that you'll sense what he cannot say, that you'll hear the words his heart speaks in the quiet spaces between conversations, that you'll stay not to fix, but to witness, not to demand explanations, but to offer presence. Have you ever noticed how, when you hold space without judgment, someone begins to soften, to open, to trust? His silence says, "I'm trying to protect myself." It admits, "I'm overwhelmed and don't know how to cope." It asks, "Can you be patient with me while I figure this out?" And beneath it all, it cries, "I need you, but I am afraid to need anyone." Understanding his silence requires listening beyond words, feeling the energy behind his actions, recognizing that what seems like disinterest is often deep care wrapped in fear, that what appears as indifference is sometimes a shield protecting a heart too raw to expose. His silence is an invitation, a doorway to deeper connection if approached with patience, compassion, and non-judgment. Not to pry, but to be present. Not to fix, but to honor his journey, however messy, however quiet, however long it takes. Have you felt that the most profound conversations happen not with words, but with presence? This is what his silence is really saying. I'm in pain. I want to be seen. I just don't know how to show it. How to hold space without pushing him away. Holding space for someone in pain, especially when they won't or can't express it, is one of the most profound acts of love. But it's also one of the most delicate. It requires presence without pressure, understanding without expectation, and patience without conditions. For the masculine, whose silence speaks volumes, this kind of space can feel like a lifeline, a gentle reminder that connection is still possible, even when words fail. Have you ever felt the tension of wanting to help someone, but fearing that pushing too hard might make them retreat further? The first step in holding space is to soften your own energy, to release the impulse to fix, to analyze, to demand explanations. Because the more you try to force him to open up, the more he will retreat. His silence is a defense mechanism, not an attack. So meet it with calmness, with a steady, open heart that says, "I'm here, no matter how long it takes." This doesn't mean waiting passively or suppressing your own needs. It means creating an environment where he feels safe to be exactly where he is, without fear of judgment or pressure. It's in the quiet, consistent gestures that trust is built. A gentle touch, a steady presence, a willingness to sit in silence without needing to fill the space. Have you noticed how, when you stop trying to pull someone out of their shell, they often begin to peek out on their own? Offer empathy without expectation. Let him know you see him, not as broken or weak, but as human. A soul navigating a storm that he's not yet ready to name. Acknowledge his struggle without diminishing it, without trying to minimize his feelings with platitudes like, "Everything will be fine," or "Just open up." Instead, offer simple truths. "I see you. I feel you. You're not alone." Create emotional safety by being consistent, reliable, and honest about your own feelings, not to make it about you, but to model what vulnerability can look like. Show him that expressing emotions doesn't have to mean falling apart, that it can be a bridge, not a burden. Have you ever realized that your calm presence can do more than words ever could? Understand that timing is everything. His walls won't come down all at once. They might not even come down in your presence, but your patience plants seeds. Seeds of trust, of possibility, of hope. And when he's ready, when he feels safe, those seeds may begin to sprout. Sometimes holding space means stepping back just enough to let him breathe, but not so far that he feels abandoned. It's a dance between presence and distance, between offering support and honoring his autonomy. Listen to the cues of his energy. When he withdraws, give him space without making it about rejection. When he reaches out, even subtly, meet him with openness. Have you ever felt the shift when someone realized you were a safe place to land? Holding space is not a passive act. It's an active choice to be love rather than do love. To embody patience, presence, and compassion in a way that invites him to step closer at his own pace. It's saying, "You don't have to explain. I'm here. I'll be here when you're ready." In this space, healing can begin, not through force, but through permission, not through fixing, but through witnessing, not through rushing, but through allowing. because sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer someone in pain isn't advice or solutions or even words. It's your quiet, unwavering presence, a steady hand on their back, a silent understanding in your eyes, a gentle energy that says, "I see you, I honor your journey, and I'll walk beside you, whether you speak or not." In a world that teaches us to measure connection by shades, gestures, and declarations, the silence of the masculine might seem like distance, a void, an absence. But what if, in that silence, there's a message more profound than any spoken phrase? What if, in his quiet, there's a vibration of love trying to find its way to the surface? A love that's too raw, too tangled, too unspoken to be expressed in words, but felt nonetheless. Have you ever felt that someone's silence wasn't a closing door, but an unspoken invitation to stay? This silence doesn't mean he's indifferent. It means he's overwhelmed. It means he's navigating an internal storm that has no language, no map, no clear path forward. It means he's longing for connection, but doesn't know how to ask for it. And in this space, love speaks louder than words, not through demands or explanations, but through presence, through the quiet energy of, "I'm here, I see you, you're not alone." His silence might feel like rejection, but it's often a cry for understanding, a plea for you to hold space, to listen beyond the surface, to feel the vibrations of his soul. It's a test of patience, yes, but also a test of trust. Trust that love isn't always loud, isn't always clear, isn't always easy. That love, real love, can exist in the pauses, in the spaces between words, in the weight of unspoken truths. Have you noticed how, in those moments of shared silence, connection can deepen in ways no conversation could achieve? The masculine's silence holds layers of emotion: fear of vulnerability, fear of inadequacy, fear of losing control. But beneath all that fear is a heart that still wants to be known, a soul that still yearns to be met. And your presence, calm, steady, without expectations, can be the light he doesn't realize he's searching for, the permission he didn't know he needed, the gentle assurance that love doesn't always demand explanations, that it can simply be. In these moments, love speaks not in grand gestures or passionate declarations, but in the quiet commitment to stay present, to hold his truth even when he can't, to offer understanding even when he withdraws, to be the silence that listens, the stillness that steadies, the presence that holds space. Have you ever felt the profound intimacy of a connection that exists beyond words? This is the message his silence carries. I'm in pain. I want to be seen, but I don't know how. I need you, but I'm afraid. I long for connection, but I fear the vulnerability it requires. And the response isn't to push, to demand, or to fix. It's to stand in your own alignment, your own strength, and your own love. It's to meet his silence with a presence that says, you are safe, you are seen, you are loved, even here, even now, even in this quiet. Because true love doesn't need to be spoken. It resonates in the silence. It echoes in the spaces between. It lives in the quiet courage of two souls willing to meet each other, not in perfection, but in truth, in presence, in patience, in love. Have you ever felt the power of love that speaks in silence? Comment, I trust the silence, and let your truth bring comfort to others.